So the first thing first is I'll bring in our Tailwind CSS, right? So let's just try get it from one of other of our projects that we've done. I think it should be in JS class, Tailwind. Okay, let me just pick this. Okay, let me pick this and let's put it inside our CSS here so that we'll connect to it from our CSS here. Okay, so now what we'll simply do here is to create a link. Okay, so now we're linking this from our CSS slash tailwind.main.css. Okay, so now if we have that, now I'll simply comment the send for now. Now let's build a card. Okay, so I'll simply say div. You said you were having issues with your tailwind, so just watch. But I've told you the solution though, just have to make inferences. Okay, so I'm going to have a grid card, sorry, a grid div, a div with a grid class. Okay, now this grid, I'll make it have let's say columns one, then at MD, or let's say at SM, okay, to be grid columns 2, then at MD, okay, to be grid columns 3, okay, then at LG, okay, it will be grid columns 4, okay, then the gap, let's say the gap of 5 or 6, enough. Okay, this thing is a big cheat. Don't mind this guy. It's might even mislead you. So now within this div, I have this. Then inside this div, I'll have shadow. Okay. Then I'll have rounded LG. Okay. Then after rounded LG, we explain that. Okay. So I'll have rounded LG. Okay. So then I'll have a padding Y of let's say 4. Then have padding X of let's say 6. Okay. So with this, if I save this and check how it is here, we have a card like this. Okay. Now another thing again is I would like to place it inside another div, okay, of maximum width of 7XL with MX auto, that is margin right and left auto. Okay, so with this, I'll place this div inside it. Let me do my proper indentation. So that we'll not have it come to the edge like this. Okay. So here I can just add a little class here and have a margin top and bottom of 10. Okay. Then I can have a test center, that is test align center. Okay. Test. Okay. So let's see how it is. Okay, I'm supposed to increase the font size, that's text. I'm going to use text 3XL, then I'll use font bold for it. Okay, so I can use capitalize as well. So let's see how it is. Okay, yes, capitalize each, yes. Okay, so now these are cards. Okay, so then here I'm going to give here a x margin x of margin x of, let's say, 10. Okay, so margin is not working, but let's just go with this. Okay, so now if I have multiple div like this, let's see how it is. Okay, we have 4 on the large screen. So on the small screen we have 1, 2, 3, 4. That is what that thing I was calculating. So at by default is, yes, that's what I wanted to put, but since didn't work out, I just left it. Okay, now this guy here now is just the normal, so that's grid column 1. And on a small screen, grid column 2. On a medium screen, grid column 3. Then on a large screen, grid column 4. So from large to S large and the rest to just be 4. That's the highest take. So that was the thing I was calculating here. Okay. So but now, okay, we are going to just build one of the card. Now the data that we got so far, let's look at the data again. Data that we are expecting so far, because now the thing is, as a front-end developer, you have to first of all inspect the data and know what you are expecting. So that one I will tell you how you build your front end. That when the data comes in, you arrange them according to how the data came in. Okay. Now we have the name of the user. So now we have we have the name of the user, we have the username of the user, we have the email, which other thing, the phone number, and the website of the person. Okay, so let's just say let's just make use of few data here. Okay, so let's say we want to do make use of this guy. Okay, let's say the name will be the main listing of the card. Then after the name, we'll now have other details with it. Okay, so this one now depend on you how you want to design it. Okay, so first and foremost, let's say if I have, let's say a H1. Okay, a H1 where I have, let's say, the name of the person, let's say James Bond, for instance. Okay, now when I have James Bond, let's say I'll have uh, let's say I have a H3 here. Okay, and I say details. Okay, now on this H, after this H3, let's say I have a UL where I'll have different UI. Okay, now in this different UI, LI rather, I'll have something like username according to that whatsoever that we have. Username would be maybe uh, something. Okay, then we also have email. Okay, let's say email. email, okay, something at something, okay. So let's say, let's just use, okay, the address, okay. Let's say we put all the address together, okay. So you can say address and phone number and websites, okay. Address, phone number, and websites. So we have address, okay, phone number, and website, okay. So let's see how it is on our UI first. Is how it is, okay. If it's okay by us, fine, we can go with it. But let me just do a little styling on it, okay. So first and foremost, I'll just say put a class here, make this one font bold, okay. Then I'll increase the text size. Let's say text 2XL, okay. Then I'll simply align it to center. That's text center, okay. Let's see how it is. So this will be the card for James Bond. Then under James Bond, maybe I'll have, let's say, a class here. So this class here, good evening. I'll have underline. Moses, bring that phone. Okay, let's see how it is. I don't think, okay. I think it's still okay. Okay, still okay. Or we can just do a HR here to put header row. If you, then I can now remove the underline. Okay. So what I will just simply do is just to put margin top and bottom. Let's say 5. Okay, sorry. I will need the margin top more than the bottom. I don't really need the bottom because I want the header row just to be under this. So this will be extra details of this person. Okay. So that is it. So let's just say we need it like this. We can still make this guy, let's say BG, let's say BG gray, uh, 300, then PY, that's padding top and bottom, let's say 2. Let's see how it is. Okay. Mm, yeah. No, I deleted all those. This is it. This is the children of the grid. I have different children of this before. I deleted all of them and I left one. So I'm working with that one now. So if you want more, if you duplicate this one now, you now have content. Before they don't have content. You understand? Okay. So we work with one. Then that one now will be like the placeholder that will now pull this data that's coming from wherever it's coming from. Okay. So we're just designing it to serve as a placeholder for the rest data, for the data, right? So this, let's say these are extra details of this user. Okay. So like this now, I'll simply, I think I'm done with this. So this data will be what we change. This guy, the name will change. Then every other thing here will change. Okay. So this guy now is what we will make use of. Okay? So I'll just cut it. Okay. I'll just cut it like this. Then that will now be the content of my list. Okay. But the question now is, I cannot pass this thing here. It's going to give me a lot of errors because I cannot use this quote here. So what I will simply do is I'll use this kind of quote, this one here. I've showed you this before. So with this now, I can have multi-line uh, uh, code like this. Okay, because to span across, I just tap this one here under your escape. Okay, okay. It depend. I don't know. It might be your system. This one here. So you just tap to shift. Okay. Now with this now that I have, remember this is for each user. This variable will handle every user. Okay. Yes, I got it. I got it. Yes. So we have to give this guy an ID now. Just like you can just give this user ID. So this guy will have the user ID now. ID equals users. Okay. So now this guy is who will now populate its inner HTML with this list. Okay. So if we do this now, if I uncomment this send request, okay, then I'll have dummy data, though dummy data actually we've not populated the whole thing. So let's change that one by one. Okay. So let's change them one by one. So the first thing, since we have this user now, represent each of the data. That means each of the array, each of the elements of the array. Remember we said is, let's also make also dot log here. Okay. So before we do anything, let's say users. Let's log the users. Okay. Let's log users. Okay. So now when we log the users here, now if we refresh, we'll still get users. So like we said the other time that the request, the response that we're getting is array of objects. As you can see, each one now is an object. Each one now is an object. So when you say for each user, that means each of them now, this one now represents the object for each. So with the object dot, anything you want to get from it, you can get dot company dot address, but company dot address are also objects. You understand? But we'll get to that. But first of all, we can get the ones that are first-hand information from the object is email, ID, name, phone, username, and websites. Okay, so let's first of all use the name. Okay, so we simply say here now, I will have this James Bond now. We'll have to bring in the variable user.name inside there. So for us to bring the variable, we have to first of all put dollar sign and this curly braces. Then before we can pass in variable into this. So say user.name. Okay. So the name here is from the object. Each object have a name. Yes. Each object have a name. Each object have a name. You understand? So if you refresh your form now, all the names of the users. Okay? Each of them have a name like this. So the next thing is, let's say the username. The same thing we'll do for the username. So let's just come here to username. Username is this. Okay? Now this is where, like I told you, you have to inspect what you are getting. Okay? We have a username as a key. So these are the keys I'm calling. These things now is what I'm calling here. Okay? So we have username. We have the email. I think email on its own is a key email. Okay. So then also we have address. Okay, this address is kind of complex, so let's leave it for now. Let's leave the address for now. We have the phone. I think they called it phone, just phone. Okay. So then the website, I think you call it just website too. Okay, website. Okay, so we can append HTTP because we don't have HTTP in it. Okay, so we can append it to it like this, so that each of the websites. We can also make it uh, uh, an anchor by doing this. That is creating an anchor link. Okay, yes, and pass it inside it, so that With this, you will simply have a clickable anchor. Okay, you know we are in tailwind, so we'll not. Yes, tailwind has stripped off the whole thing. Okay, then here now on the place is displaying, we have to add the HTTP to it. Okay, then we can add tailwind class to change to add style to it. Let's say test blue, let's say 400. Okay, then we can say over if we want to, over underline. Okay, yes, you have to put another over. So it looks normal. Okay, like a normal default behavior of a link. Okay, so the only thing that we need to uh, actually check here now is uh, the address. Okay, the address. Okay, so the address is kind of complex here because the address is an object again on its own. Likewise, the company, because on the address, we have the street address, we have the suit, we have the city, and a lot of other this is zip code. Okay, so even within the address now, there's another object called geo. That is the geolocation, the latitude and longitude. Assuming you want to do something like a map and fixing the latitude and longitude of that particular place. You understand? So how do we access all these things now? Okay, I think I'll bring in this Joe whatsoever into it too. So now for the address, we have to say address, okay, dot. Which one we want to get from the address? Is it the street? Is it the city? First, I think it's the suit first. Apartment 556, coolers lights, by in a sorry in a Wenbro, something like that. Let's just say if we want to get these three, the suit, street, and city. So we simply say the suit, okay. Then I'll put a space past the street to it, okay. Then and I pass the city, okay. So with this, we're going to get let's say now. So we're going to get the address, okay. So you see how it is. Yes, if you want to. Yes, if you want to, that means you have other, you might have other, maybe another list inside here, or it depends on your design. But you can have the major thing I want you to take note of is how you can have access to the data. The design, you can decide to design it anyhow you want. You can even bring a pre-designed car. And the major thing I just want you to how to get data out of it. Now I want to bring in the geolocation thing now, which is part of the address. Okay, let's say assuming we want to get the geolocation now. Geolocation. Okay. So now on the geolocation, we need we need the we'll say longitude. Okay. So longitude. This thing is a cheat. It's a cheat. So user dot address. Okay, the major thing now is user dot address dot Joe, because you know this Joe is under address. If you check your this thing now, if you go to address now, the address and object inside the address object, what have another object for Joe. Okay, so if you open the Joe up now, you now see latitude and longitude. So you say the user dot address dot Joe dot latitude will give you latitude. You get it? User dot address dot Joe dot longitude will give you longitude. So that is what happens here. Okay, longitude will give you this, latitude will give you this. So with this now, if we refresh your page, you're going to get their geolocation as well. Okay, so if the design is not okay by you, you can simply decide to change the design to something uh, that is better. Yes, you can just anyhow you can change. You can even you might decide not to even use lists. You can use different something, different container, different elements to build your own design. Let me just do a little style here. Okay, let's just say margin bottom. Okay, for each one of them would be, let's say, for three. Okay, so with this, I think we'll have a little space after each one of them. Okay, so with this, we have all the data. Okay, so this is just how you can make an AJAX request at free time. Okay, an AJAX request. Okay, so the AJAX request will bring in data. There is none left for you as the front end now. So this is just the idea of working independently as a front end. The back end people now are the ones that provides this. Okay, so even if we are working on the same project, yeah, even if we're working on the same project, as a back end guy, I will simply give you they call it an endpoint. When you hear us mentioning endpoint, this is an endpoint. You understand? So the endpoint is simply the place you make a request to and get data from it. So when you get the data, then you now know how to use the data as a front end developer. So even as a back end developer, what you'll be creating is you create data and create endpoints. You understand? Uh-huh. So that is just how it is. So most of the things we're going to do in our backend classes, we'll create data like this. We'll create data like this. Then we'll send a request to them and get response. And make use of them just like what we've just done here now. Okay? So that is that. So I believe you have a class tomorrow.